out of all the things you've done, you've also climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. Is this true?
It's true.
How? What do you? Why and how? And what do you take from that experience?
I guess the backstory is relevant because that in that moment, it was the darkest time in my life. I was ending a 13-year marriage. I was leaving my religion. I sold Braintree, and I was battling depression, where I was just like, at the end. And I got invited to go to Tanzania as part of a group that was raising money to build clean water wells. And I had made some money from Braintree, and so I was able to donate $25,000. And it was the first time I had ever had money to donate outside of paying tithing in my religion. And it was such a phenomenal experience to contribute something meaningful to someone else in that form. And as part of this process, we were going to climb the mountain. And so we went there and we saw the clean water wells we were building. We spoke to the people there, and it was very energizing. And then we climbed Kilimanjaro, and I came down with a stomach flu on day 3. And I also had altitude sickness, but I became so sick that on day 4, we were summiting on day 5. I came into the base camp at 15,000 feet, just, going to the bathroom on myself and like falling all over. I was just a disaster. I was so sick.
So stomach flu and altitude sickness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I just was destroyed from the situation. And
plus, psychologically one of the lowest points.
Yeah, and I think that was probably a big contributor. I was just smoked as a human, just absolutely done. And I had 3 young children, and so I was trying to reconcile. Like, this is not whether I live or not is not my decision by itself. I'm now intertwined with these 3 little people, and I have an obligation, whether I like it or not. I need to be there. And so it felt like I was just stuck in a straitjacket. And I had to decide whether I was going to summit the next day with the team. And it was a difficult decision because once you start hiking, there's no way to get off the mountain. And midnight came, and our guide came in and he said, "Where are you at?" And I said, "I think I'm okay. I think I can try." And so we went. And so from midnight I made it to the summit at 5 a.m. It was one of the most transformational moments of my existence. And the mountain became my problem. It became everything that I was struggling with. And when I started hiking, the pain got so ferocious that it was kind of like this. It became so ferocious that I turned my music to Eminem, and it was Eminem was the only person in existence that spoke to my soul, and it was something about his anger and his vibrancy and his multidimensional. He's the only person who I could turn on, and I could say, I feel some relief. I turned on Eminem, and I made it to the summit after 5 hours. But just 100 yards from the top, I was with my guide Ike, and I started getting very dizzy, and I felt like I was gonna fall backwards off this cliff area we were on. I was like, this is dangerous. And he said, "Look, Bryan, I know where you're at. I know where you're at, and I can tell you've got it in you. So I want you to look up, take a step, take a breath, then look up, take a breath, and take a step." And I did, and I made it. And so I got there, and I sat down with him at the top. I just cried like a baby.
Broke down.
I just lost it. And so he'd let me do my thing, and then we pulled out the pulse oximeter, and he measured my blood oxygen levels, and it's like it was like 50-something%, and it was danger zone. So he looked at it, and I think he was like really alarmed that I was in this situation. And so he said, "We can't get a helicopter here, and we can't get you emergency evacuated. You've got to go down. You've got to hike down to 15,000 feet to get base camp." And so we went on the mountain. I got back down to base camp, and again, that was pretty difficult. And then they put me on a stretcher, this metal stretcher with this one wheel, and a team of 6 people wheeled me down the mountain. And it was pretty torturous. I'm very appreciative they did. Also, the trail was very bumpy, so they'd go over these big rocks, and so my head would just slam against this metal thing for hours, and so I just felt awful. Plus, I'd get my head slammed every couple seconds.
Yeah.
So the whole experience was really a life-changing moment, and that's it. That was the demarcation of me basically building a new life. Of basically, I said, I'm going to reconstruct Bryan, my understanding of reality, my existential realities, what I want to go after. And I mean, as much as that's possible as a human, but that's when I set out to rebuild everything.
Was it the struggle of that? I mean, there's also just like the romantic, poetic, it's a freaking mountain. He's a man in pain, psychological and physical, struggling up a mountain. But it's just struggle. Just in the face of just pushing through in the face of hardship or nature too, something much bigger than you. Was that the thing that just clicked?
For me, it felt like I was just locked in with reality, and it was a death match. It was in that moment, one of us is going to die.
So you were pondering death,
Yeah,
like not surviving.
yeah. And that was the moment. And it was, the summit to me was, I'm going to come out on top and I can do this. And giving in it's like, I'm just done. And so I locked in. And that's why, yeah, mountains are magical to me. I didn't expect that. I didn't design that. I didn't know that was going to be the case. It would not have been something I would have anticipated.
But you were not the same man afterwards.
Yeah.